travels through the universe on an axis that is tilted by 23.5 degrees. So, from a certain perspective, we live in a tilted world.
Everybody welcome.
Today, in this tilted world, some people are defying expectations. An American student gets the hang of painting.
A performer looks good on paper in Singapore.
Australian golfers go for a hole-in-one.
Vertical jogging in Germany.
And a British strongman gets tired. What are the chances? Against all odds.
Tilt 23.5.
The English countryside is an ideal place for leisure driving. Miles of open roads take you to ancient castles, across lush green pastures, through quaint small towns, and down the Thames to historic London. You could wear out several dozen tires exploring these wonders. Or you might prefer to be like Gary Windebank and lift the tires over your head.
And again, John, hold him.
Gary lives in Romsey, England, and works as a tractor driver. He's won local strongman competitions lifting cars and pulling heavy carts. He also holds the world tire supporting record. What inspires a man to support tires?
My wife got me involved. She see it done on television, and she said I could have a go at this, so I had a go.
Today, Gary is having a go with the help of his friend Jim Hansen, who works at a local tire dealership. Jim supplied the tires. Gary is putting a lot of trust in Jim and his friends. 1,100 pounds of tire stacked the wrong way could break a man's back. To help prevent injury, Gary wears a body belt and shoulder pads. Even with protection, a tire stuffed under each arm can get a bit uncomfortable, especially when you have 76 more tires stacked on top of them.
On the left. Yes, come on. Come on, get him in. No. Look at him. Oh, look at him.
Perhaps Gary's wife, Diane, can explain why she suggested this in the first place.
Oh, I don't know. I just thought he was strong enough that he could do it. So I suggested it, but I didn't think he'd take me seriously.
Gary took his wife so seriously that he got up to 101 tires, unofficial. His official record stands at 96 tires. That's 1,440 pounds, or almost the weight of a small female giraffe. How did Mrs. Windebank feel when Gary set the record?
Oh, I was very proud of him then. Very relieved too. He's managed.
And while there are some who might say that tires are put to better use on the open road, Gary feels he got plenty of mileage out of them.
Hit the center of this target and you'll win $300. All you have to do is get a tiny 2-inch ball through this 13-inch hole from over 300 feet away. Welcome to Prize Golf in Cairns, Australia. To compete with the 6 other courses in the Cairns area, the owners of Prize Golf created a driving range with a twist. If a golfer drives a yellow ball into a target, he can win anywhere from 300 to 50,000 Australian dollars. Ambitious golfers can purchase extra yellow balls for $1 apiece.
Thank you.
Not a bad return on a $1 investment. It can get a bit expensive, not to mention frustrating. If a golfer does manage to hit the bullseye, an alarm goes off. The alarm doesn't go off very often. In a year and a half, golfers hit approximately 2,518,500 balls. How many made it into the $50,000 target? 2, but they were both white, and only yellow balls win money. In fact, Prize Golf's most on-target visitor isn't even a golfer. It's the Indian myna bird. The birds build nests in the targets each morning. So instead of hearing this, prize-winning golfers might hear something like this instead.
The desert regions of northern Africa are among the least hospitable areas on the planet. There's very little water, even less vegetation, and no giraffes. But there are goats, lots of them. Nubian and Rihali goats are naturally very hardy breeds, able to endure the extreme temperature changes of the desert. That's no secret to the nomadic Berbers who depend on meat from their goat herds for survival. But while carnivores like Berbers can eat goats, herbivores like goats can't find much to munch on here in the desert. Not on the ground, anyway. The most tender and nutritious leaves are found at the tops of these desert trees. That's no problem for a 13-foot giraffe. For a 14-inch goat, it's a rather tall task. But not too tall. Goats have versatile hooves, and desert winds often bend tree trunks and branches close to the ground, helping goats reach heights normally reserved for certain other African animals. Although not many giraffes could pull off a balancing act like this. Eventually, the herd must return to the Berber village, leaving these goats with a choice. Come down to earth and assume their place in the Berber diet, or pretend to be a giraffe.
Coming up on Tilt 23 and a half, light entertainment in Singapore.
Heady artistry in the U.S.
And German thrill seekers take a walk on the wild side. Try to guess this woman's weight. We won't tell you how tall she is. We won't even tell you her shoe size. But we will give you one hint. That white square is made of paper. If you guessed 108 pounds, you'd be right. Sue Soja is a performer in Singapore. The secret to her success begins with the paper. It's stretched tight on the wooden frame, folded at the edges, and tacked down. Each tack provides a source of tensile strength by setting out radii of force that lessen the amount of weight that any point in the paper must bear. In other words, the tacks make the paper stronger. Sue uses a lot of tacks for her act. Tilt 23.5 recreated Sue's paper square to see if her act is merely a physics trick. In a random sample of objects, none of which approach Sue's 108 pounds, the paper failed to support much weight. Apparently, there's another force at work. Sue uses an ancient Chinese discipline known as Qigong. Using concentration and special breathing, a person can center their internal energy, or qi, in the pelvic area just below the navel. Exerting conscious control over this energy, a person can allegedly lift heavy weights, or heal herself, or lighten her body. Today, Qigong is practiced by 20 million people in China alone. Many of its students claim to no longer need food or sleep. Sue Soldier knows something else about Qigong. It's a real crowd pleaser.
Adventure sports are more popular than ever. From bungee jumping out of a gondola to bicycling out of an airplane. Thrill seekers are continually finding new ways to get that adrenaline rush. But none of these activities translate particularly well to the urban environment. What's a city-dwelling sportsman to do? Andy Weber of Frankfurt, Germany has the answer. All you need is $65 and a tall building. The adventure begins with a small waiver of responsibility for accident or injury. Andy assures us that's never happened on one of his adventures. Next stop, the roof. Adventurers get a helmet, a harness, and a special belt. All in preparation for their shining moment. That was just a warm-up for the shining moment. This woman is now qualified to walk to ground level. She won't be taking the stairs. She'll be joining a new breed of German adventurers, house runners. As a house runner, she'll be walking down the side of this 35-story building. It's about 360 feet high. First, she'd better double-check the harness. Without it, she'd be traveling at approximately 125 miles per hour when she reached the ground. And with that, it's finally time for her vertical sprint. House running may be the adventure sport of the future. It combines the best of climbing, jogging, and being in great danger for no good reason.
The University of Central Florida in Orlando has more than 20,000 students, so it's not easy to stand out in the crowd. Scott Horner does.
Scott is the best student among 20 students in my class.
For art professor Walter Gaudnick, Scott does more than merely stand out from his class or even from the entire university.
Because he truly understands that it is not enough for an artist to paint a pretty picture or a good picture or a superb picture. It is necessary to present it in a way which will get national or international attention.
Whether Scott's pictures are pretty or good or even superb is a matter of individual aesthetic opinion, but they have been internationally recognized. Scott Horner has received global attention for wearing a tuxedo when he paints, hanging upside down from a tree, and painting with his head. According to Scott, this method lets his inspiration flow right from his head to the canvas. Scott didn't always approach his art this way. His early works were created the old-fashioned way. Then he entered Professor Gaudnick's class, Happenings and Conceptual Art. According to the syllabus, the course is designed to break down the customary distinctions between life and art. On the life side, Scott's work incorporates many family members and friends, even his mom. Then there's the art side, the paints, the canvas, and of course, the implement. As Scott creates art, in life, he gets dizzy. Fulfilling Professor Gaudnick's other criteria, Scott's unorthodox methods receive worldwide attention. And who could blame him when their success goes to his head? Coming up on Tilt 23 and a half, Mexicans go down in the polls.
And an international road trip in the U.S.
The market in this Mexican village offers many different kinds of goods, but none are as valued as these. A straw hat, a windbreaker, some buckets of toilet paper, cigarettes, cookies, and cleansing powder. Today, they'll be the focus of everyone's attention. This is the traditional ritual known as palo encebado. Palo meaning pole, and encebado meaning animal fat. The villagers start with a 40-foot wooden pole, and then they cover it. They don't call this animal fat pole for nothing. The rules are simple. The first one to the top wins. And winner takes all, including the hat. It's every man for himself, and a different strategy for every man. The ritual of pole climbing dates back thousands of years. It follows the ancient concept of axis mundi, connecting the dome of the heavens with the horizontal plane of the earth. Clearly, man belongs on the earth side of the pole. Unfortunately, 3 climbers covered with grease are just as slippery as 1. Finally, an enterprising climber reaches the top. From the earth below, he appears to be in a dangerous position. He might disagree. In fact, his successful ascent to the heavens has gotten him everything he could possibly desire. Except the latter.
The world is a big place. If you wanted to travel to China, Poland, Peru, Norway, Mexico, Sweden, Denmark, and Lebanon, you'd have to travel over 40,000 miles. Or you could come here and see them all on a single tank of gas.
Welcome to the state of Maine.
Добро
Here
пожаловать
are
в штат
nine
Мэн. 9
countries
стран
and
и
about
около
20
20
cities
городов
represented in the state of
представлены
Maine.
в штате Мэн.
On the northeastern tip of the United States, Maine offers tourists a unique opportunity. A chance to send a package from Norway, get your hair done in Poland, and buy an American car in Paris, all without changing the radio station.
WOXO and WTBM serving Mexico, Paris, Norway, Sweden, China, Peru, and Denmark. Glad to have you along here in Western Maine on a snowy Thursday afternoon.
When parts of Maine were settled in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, ethnic groups brought more than just their traditions to their new home. Of course, the names can get confusing.
We have people who come into our office here at the Chamber of Commerce quite often asking, well, how far to this area, how far to that area? And we'll say, well, if you go up through China or you go up through Sweden, they kind of look at us like, well, what do you mean?
All things considered, the cities and countries that share the state of Maine live in perfect harmony.
We had people come in one day from mainland China and had the pictures taken with me out front of the store, and they thought that was the greatest thing in the world. They could come from mainland China all the way to China, Maine.
If people can travel from behind the Great Wall more than 7,000 miles to pose in front of this general store, maybe it is a small world after all.
Next time on Tilt 23 and a Half, a delicious dinner in Chicago,
A healthy hot tub in California,
a passion for pink in the Bahamas,
and a modern Michelangelo in the United States.
Indulgence. Next time on Tilt 23 and a Half. WTBM serving towns such as Mexico, Paris, Norway, Sweden,